In today's video, I'll be covering 5 mistakes that even experienced travelers make so you know what to avoid and can kick off your next trip with a great flight experience. One of the biggest mistakes you can make when you have a flight coming up is not taking the opportunity to choose your seat on the plane, which you can usually do for free during the online check-in. Experienced travelers know that completing online check-in for a flight as soon as the check-in window opens is essential to get the best selection of available seats. What many travelers don't know is that the online check-in window for multiple airlines now opens 48 hours prior to the flight's departure. This is a major change as the online check-in window used to begin 24 hours before the flight's departure. Check your airline's website today so you don't make the mistake of waiting until 24 hours before your flight to complete the check-in process, only to find out that online check-in started an entire day earlier, and the only seats left for you to choose are in the middle of a row sandwiched between 2 strangers. I'd argue that having a good seat is the most important factor to having a good flight. And because it is so important, the second mistake that many travelers make before their flight is not taking a moment to look at the seat map for an upcoming flight. Seat Guru is a completely free and easy-to-use tool that will show you the seat map for the exact flight you are taking and give you recommendations on which seat to pick. Just enter your airline, flight date, and flight number, then Seat Guru will pull up the seat map with information on what amenities you will have at your seat, like a charging port or seatback entertainment system. It will also recommend which are the best seats to pick, even the free seats in economy, and which are the ones you should be avoiding. For example, this is an Economy Plus seat, but it's missing a window. Imagine paying extra to get this seat, only to find out that you don't have a window. Or choosing a free seat and then learning that it doesn't recline, when you could have instead chosen the free seat in row 27 that reclines and has extra legroom. Even if you already selected your seat, you can use the information on Seat Guru to find out things like if a headset or a meal is going to be included in your ticket price. Knowing this is going to help you prepare in advance with things like if you need to bring an extra snack. The third mistake that can end up leading to a terrible flight experience is one that is going to leave you kicking yourself as you head to the airport. This would be forgetting to charge the devices that you plan to use in flight. Avoid this mistake by gathering up all of the devices you may want on the plane, like your phone, Kindle e-reader, wireless headphones, and laptop, then plugging them in to charge the night before your flight. This might seem very simple, but you would be surprised how many of my friends end up forgetting to charge their devices before they head to the airport to catch their flight. If you do end up in a situation like this, check the free website Sleeping in Airports, which is going to give you a guide to every airport in the world, and it will map out exactly where you can find the free charging stations located around the airport. And if you end up in a situation where you forgot to charge your devices and you forgot to bring the charger with you, don't worry, it happens. You may want to consider heading to the airport lost and found. Passengers leave chargers behind all the time, and there is almost certainly one that you can borrow to charge your device before your flight. In addition to having your devices charged, you will also want to make sure that you have access to them during the flight by putting them in your backpack as opposed to your rolling suitcase. If you pack a device in your rolling carry-on suitcase, you will have a very hard time accessing it, let alone using it, during the flight. The next mistake that even experienced travelers make is waiting until you get to the airport to download any content that you'd like for the flight. Relying on slow airport Wi-Fi to download your favorite Netflix series or the latest podcast episode is a recipe for disaster. Also consider downloading ebooks and transferring them to your e-reader, as well as downloading audiobooks in advance of leaving for the airport. The next critical mistake is relevant to anyone that feels at all anxious before heading off on a trip. I certainly do. And let us know down in the comments if you also feel even just a little bit anxious before a flight. Anxiety over the airport experience or the flight itself can make even the most well-traveled people procrastinate on actually getting out of the house. This is similar to how you may have procrastinated on a tough assignment in school and then only had the motivation to actually get it done when you knew there was no more time to push it off. In the context of catching a flight, what ends up happening is that you leave for the airport way later than you had planned. This leads to unnecessary stress the entire way to the airport and while trying to get through security. It also leaves you running through the terminal to make your flight. We've all seen that passenger. I've certainly been that passenger, and it is not a fun experience. It's also an awful way to start a trip, and by the time you get into your seat, your nerves are wrecked and your cortisol is spiked, not exactly priming you for an enjoyable flight. So if you know that you are prone to taking action at the very last minute, like me, here is something that you can do to avoid this situation. Try pre-booking your ride to the airport the night before your flight. Whether you are taking a taxi or using a ride-sharing app, you can usually pre-book your drive for a reasonable time. By booking the time that your taxi or your Uber is going to arrive, you are now associating the deadline with leaving the house as to when the car arrives. You are not waiting to leave the house until it is the last possible moment that you could actually make your flight. Hopefully this video was helpful for you to avoid making these mistakes the next time you fly. I have certainly made every single one of them, and it is not fun. Thank you so much for watching. Safe travels, and then I also hope you'll subscribe so you can join us back here for more travel tips and hacks next week. Bye.